Listen to the music. Do you recognize the composer? Do you enjoy it? Yes. Actually, it's brand new music and it's composed by a robot. It's Aiva. And Aiva offers music as a service. You just give what you're fond of, what emotion you want to, achieve, and for what purpose, whether it's a commercial or a new movie or just, your company theme song, and it will deliver the music to you. So, Aiva as the new music composer. Try it out. Next one is, if you have an idea and you've been, thinking about writing a book, but you don't have the really ability and you don't want to be refused by a publishing company. Now you don't have to. You just click it on, you provide your book directly through Kindle, Amazon's, self-publishing service. You're going to come out to the marketplace and you have the Goodreads is a community with 80 million people, and you get the interaction with your readers without being, forced into going into shopping malls and writing autographs. So now it's really easy to also be a writer without go through publishing. What next? Amazon is dismantling the bank institutions as we know it, meaning that each and every process in the bank is becoming a new business by itself. You all have heard about new digital banks rising up as Klarna and Collector, but this is something else. This is what is, being tough to copy at the banks as we know it today and becoming something else. So every business as we know today is being dismantled, disrupted by its core, and redefined. So the question is, how about your business? And do you know your disruptors? Many companies don't know actually. What I'm doing as a strategist in the huge digital automotive business is to really understanding the macroeconomic perspectives and what the tech giants are doing and how the startup companies without any money at all are offering new services and competing with the large companies. And I'm studying why is that happening and how are they doing that? You all heard about the FANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Google, Netflix, Amazon, of course. What are they doing? Well, Facebook is running by feed that you're, with your insight, how you're doing, with whom you're doing what event, where you are. So based on that, it's collecting personal insight. Google is doing the same by the search insight you're feeding it with. And of course, location is the foundation of those companies. And this is not so astonishing that smart parking, where to find my parking slot, was invented by Google much, further than the car makers. Because for some years ago, car makers didn't know where I parked my car. They didn't know where I was. Google knew long ago, without even having any sensors on the parking slots. So this is what I'm, looking at, that the information and the insight these companies have about me is widely exceeding what the car makers having. And the idea of having a sort of a inclusive world where shopping, entertaining, socializing is all on the same platform, much like what Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu is doing, meaning that everything you spend, everything you're engaging with, everything you're fond of or not fond of is really the insights that these companies are putting together in order to create just the best product for you. So navigation is not a product they're selling, it's a product to collect that insight. So once you think about a product is free to get the insight, versus a product to sell, that, specific purpose make two different designs. If something is for free, then you are the product. That is one sort of service design topic. And if a product has a price tag on it, then you design it, differently. So this is what I'm, want you to sort of have on your agenda when you're designing different products. Who are you competing with? So what I'm gonna take a focus on is that the connected car evolution actually have three different impacts. One is the sustainability, the sustainable smart cities, and they are pushing the boundaries for pollution, congestion, safety, security, and democratic mobility. Democratic mobility means that everyone has access to mobility services. Nevertheless, of the, what class you're belonging to. And the other one is how the automotive connected car landscape as a sense of business is really being dismantled, is being unbundled with new partners, new tech players that are really competing with the old and traditional one. And one other implication is the seamless digital lifestyle, meaning that the car right now is a dead spot for tech giants, because I need to have my eyes on the road, yes? So I cannot interact, I cannot be entertained, I cannot shop, I cannot, talk with my friends on social media. So right now the car is a dead spot for the tech giants. So what they are doing is, of course, to eliminate this dead spot. So they are really driving that seamless digital lifestyle perspective in automotive digital services. So what I'm saying is that that is really difficult for automakers to compete with a phone in your pocket. And none of the services in the car appealing to the driver's entertainment and social life will be as good as the tech giants' products. So this is something to think about. So when you're talking about connected car, it's really easy to get dazzled by, virtual reality and driver coach and everything in a dashboard that's really appealing. But actually, the main investment right now in the automotive business is put on digitalizing the, let's see. Now we would have, the nanotechnology with the battery would be good now. The digital car making process behind the scenes is where all the investment is really pushed into. Because you need to manage the car, and if the car is, I don't know, later on, being just provided as a service, not by, you sell the car, but you offer it as a service, then you wouldn't need the dealers, would you? And if you're not going to make money and the business model is not based on the parts, which is today, and it's by service instead, then you would need to have a digital sort of a stream between manufacturing, purchasing, the service, and the buyers. So the whole digital flow is a tremendous challenge for all car makers right now to creating just a data flow. We were talking about the energy flow before, and now is data management flow. And in a car making company right now, there are thousands of people working in their silos with purchasing, with engineering, with creating the whole accessories. And now they need to not work with their specific IT systems, they need to work with one digital flow. So this is actually what WirelessCar is doing right now. We are connecting the different businesses. So the car is an object with all its, data identity, and the car is moving from factory. From the moment you order it, it goes to the factory, from the factory to the dealer or to the shop or the web shop or to the different car rental companies. And from there, maybe the car needs to be shareable for car sharing issues. then you need to define the car with the list of different users, because users is not just a driver. It might be the service guy, the in-car delivery guy, the dealer, the fleet owner. So we need to redefine the car as its sort of a digital identity. And this is a real huge evolution for the car makers. The investments are huge in this sense. And since WirelessCar, which is a 100% owned company by AB Volvo, but outside Sweden we are famous for being WirelessCar and not Volvo, we have a global reach. Our business model is to provide managed services for digital services in the automotive. So the business model is based on connected cars. So we have more than 3 million active connected cars for the top car making companies. And if a car has services that is not activated, then our business model is ruined. So our focus is understanding what valuable services can actually be run on the connected car. So the list of the new services, and you might not have the latest connected products in your car, and mainly actually most of the services are behind the scenes, connecting the car from the factory to the purchasing to the dealer. And the services for the drivers, you know, the smart heater or find the parking or the navigation or book a service, yeah, we are looking at it, we are promoting it. It's really difficult to get paid for it, and customer, you know, just want it for free. And it's really difficult to compete with the tech giants and all of those services in the pocket, in the phone. So this is a true challenge, but we are working on it. But you know, still, I can't see how the services are addressing the challenges that we are talking about today. Because we are seeing the mega cities rising, yeah? Cities are getting larger and larger. And I know that Hans Rosling have talked about the Commonwealth is also increasing, meaning that as soon as middle class families can afford buying a car, they buy a car because it's freedom and is a status symbol at the same time. And that implies that the congestion will increase and also the pollution and the number of fatalities. And you might wonder, my God, aren't we better than that? Don't we have smart cars? Don't we have electric cars? Don't we have smart, you know, systems that rearrange the traffic flows? Well, we're on it, but it's stuck in the institutions and in research. We don't get it out. So the cars, the electric cars, are a bit too slow to the market. It's, you know, until 2030 that we will see that half of the sales of new cars will be on electric cars. So it's going to take a while. And of course, all cars will be connected, probably shareable, but we don't know about those business models. And this is a bit tough to get, you know, through people's mobility sort of behavior. Because electric cars, first, the infrastructure is really difficult still. The charging is a really hassle. Many companies don't choose it because they can't trust the charging perspective. And, you know, it could really ruin the whole workflow. And of course, the price tag is not for everyone. It's still quite, you know, expensive. And actually in Sweden, there is a challenge in sort of a different car racing challenge. And the driver who managed to drive the whole loop with as few charging occasions as possible will win this. So you need to really be a careful driver. And every year, Tesla is a winner. So it's going to take a while before electric cars are really matured enough. And even though the government are making legislation on electric cars, you know, is really a hassle for the car makers, because suddenly they need to have 3 different production lines, one for diesel, one for gasoline, and one for electric cars. Is tripling all the investments. So this is really difficult. And of course, we do have smart cars, and the road to autonomous drive is through advanced driver assistance systems. emergency brake and lane departure warning. All of these sort of features are right now implemented in modern car, available today. And if you want to have a 5-star safe car, these are already legislated according to that. And these features, you will probably, buzz off the lane departure warning because it's nagging, is, notifying you. And you probably believe that's, hey, let me be. I'm a good driver. And this is exactly the sort of behavior we are addressing today, that it's not up to you to decide whether you're a good driver or not. If you're a risky driver, you will probably not be in an accident, but you will cause that someone else is in an accident. So right now, actually, the number of fatalities are actually increasing, even though we do have smarter cars. Because there is a mismatch between smart technology and human factor. And whether human drivers could actually trust all the nice and high-tech technology. Right now, there is a distinction between that. So right now, there are a number of countries who have restricted the usage of smartphone in the cars. Still, people are holding the phones in their knees by one hand, like a pacifier. That is the sort of a usage, and we are sort of abusing smartphones. And the fact that it's so high-tech in the infotainment and dashboard, and people are really focusing on how to get their favorite music or calling someone or interacting, that, it's killing people. People are in more accident right now than 10 years ago, just because of the digital distraction. And I was talking about the dead spot in the car, the entertainment and shopping and socializing. You don't want to have it in the car if you want to drive safe. But the tech giants really are not appealing to that thought. So where's the difference here? Also, people being digital native, people much younger than me, being in their 20s and 30s, they don't want the hassle of owning a car, going to the service shop, buying a car, from a used car. They just want to have the mobility on demand. So right now, there is a battle between rental car companies, taxi companies, public transportation, and car making companies, battling being the mobility provider, because everyone sees this as a new sort of future business model. And the thing is that the number of cars on the street are increasing due to the new, ride-hailing business. Uber and Lyft. People take those rides instead of taking the bike or walking or taking the bus. So those new business models are really increasing congestion. Is not complementing the public transportation, is replacing it. We are lazy people. So it's important to understand the impact of what was, a very nice idea of, utilizing most of the car and not having it parked, but it has put some more cars on the street. So if you're talking about autonomous car, is not going to minimize congestion on the streets. And it's not by default an electric car. So let's keep the different initiative in, right category. And of course, if you focus all of your sort of effort into the downtown city center, you will probably forget about the elderly people living in, out of city kernel, and the young people have moved into town, and the elderly people without any transportation, because public transportation is not there. Taxi companies are, shut down many years ago. And what do who served the mobility for everyone? I read a research about city of Melbourne, where public transportation, 80% of public transportation effort is focused of city center, serving 30% of people. The one who are rich enough to have a car, but they don't. The one who are rich enough to live in city center. The other 70% outside the center only get 20% of the public transportation effort. Somewhere in there we go wrong. So mobility as such requires a sort of a holistic view. And of course, I need some nanotechnology. There. My kids, they are, envisioning a nice, whoa. Let's go here. All right. The difference between a, nasty city and a nice city. You see my kids, they want, cars somewhere out of the city, and they want spacious places with green area and a place to be active in. And of course, if you envision the Gothenburg 2070, there is actually a vision report about it. You see that transportation from other cities go just outside the city. We don't have all the cars into the city, and in the middle of city center there are small, soft and gentle and autonomous pods moving around, and they are on demand without any timetables, and people are really free to do whatever they want. So this is the city vision, and I don't see any traditional car. Do you? So by all means, the autonomous cars that we envision is not 500 kilo, is not, the mean machine that you can drive however you want. It's something else. So regarding to this vision, it's easy to understand that mobility as a service is something that we are focusing on right now, because we do believe that there is need for a holistic view in that sense. Where do people want to go? What is the best way to do it? Time, efficiency, cost, experience. So it's not so difficult to understand that actually tech giants, car making companies, service companies, car rental companies are all focusing in how to make, mobility as a service function. But the thing is that if you want to provide the best service of mobility, then you're probably not a car maker. A car maker has a business model focused on selling more cars. So if you're at the same time a mobility provider, then you want to optimize your business model on selling cars. You see the distinction here? And if you're just a fleet owner of many cars, then you would like to optimize the utilization of the cars. So if you're going to be mobility provider, then you will focus on getting that business model ahead. So depending on what kind of business model you want to optimize, you design the mobility service, depending on that. This is why we need to be really clear with our purpose. So if Google is providing a navigation service for you, but the business model is selling ads, then you would actually understand that, all right, point of interest in the navigation will be optimized for selling ads. If you, get something for free, then you are the product. If the mobility provider is a car making company, then they want to sell more cars or provide more cars. So we need to have different sort of entrepreneurs, different sort of business models serving the mobility provider as such. And there is not going to be a government in charge for this, because governments are not companies. They aren't run by those kind of models. So what you want to do is to not only providing mobility as service, because we are lazy, convenient people, and we buy a house somewhere where we could afford it, and we want to go to work to somewhere else where is a nice salary and fun work to do, and the distance could be 2 hours commuting. So you get to understand why people live where they do, and what job they select, and how come the activities nearby their house is not sufficient enough. Why do we move? I know it's a human right, but Why do we commute? Why do we, put our children to the school and we drive them, for 1.5 kilometers every day? They could take a bike. It's not safe. We need to understand why people move, because otherwise mobility provider as a service will just be a bandage. It's not going to, address the root cause as such. And right now, actually, there are some very exciting research projects ongoing. One of those are the Sidewalk Lab, together with City of Toronto. Sidewalk Lab is an Alphabet-owned company, the Google mothership. They are turning one of the suburbia in Toronto to a digital city. So they are addressing, where people live, where do they work, how come they, commute, in what senses, and they are building a sort of a digital infrastructure of not just mobility, but also where the jobs are and where people want to live and how to, plan the different social activities. And City of Toronto, who won't, drive that kind of system, is going to be probably Sidewalk Labs. I really like the idea of getting the city digital. I'm not so keen of Google running the city, but probably this will, create a sort of a recipe, a sort of a template for how to, bring it out. Still, this is a new city. It's really difficult to make it work on old cities, but I like the holistic perspective of, why do you commute? Why do you take your car everywhere? Is it because safety or time or experience or, being on your own and being in a tranquil moment? Why do you move? And I can't really see any institution or research or car makers or anyone else addressing that issue. So right now the battle is to sort of providing mobility as a service, not only producing cars. So car maker companies, car rental companies, dealers, they are all providing car sharing as a concept right now. Because they want to understand. They want to understand the whole disruption of owning a car. How does it work? And whether people, are going to take a subscription of a car much easier by the phone instead of, visiting a car shop. And probably they won't do it if they need to buy a car, which is the second most, largest investment you do in your life. And subscription is much easier to do by phone. So this is where it's going. Still is a mini tiny business model to, take a look at it. So there. And understanding the business of automotive car making and the whole hard to copy business is to design a car, manufacture it, and provide it to those who want to buy it for, last 30 or 40 years ago. And now suddenly they need to produce it as a service, ride hailing or car sharing or subscription. This is really revolutionizing everything that car makers are all about. They don't work that way. They don't have the digital data flow. They can't offer service, software as a service, car as a service. This is really turning the car maker companies upside down. And each and every business, ride hailing or car as a service, is tremendously different. So the amount of software these companies need is ridiculously massive, and the complexity is huge. And you need to bring in new people who are, software skilled people, not mechanical engineers. So this is why it's really difficult to turn from product making to be a service companies. And this is what I've done for the last 15 years with small luck. So it's always someone who's afraid for data and digital services. So I'm not succeeding in that. We need to butter it up. So, conclusions. What I see is that enjoyable and entertaining and seamless digital lifestyle is really been driven by tech giants, where the money is. And that evolution is ridiculously fast. But the implications of minimizing pollution, congestion, safety and security is done just by legislation. There is no money in that business. And I just, a fantasy would be that car maker companies go together with health insurance companies to minimize pollution, because that would really make an effort in the insurance investment. And in that case, you would really see some effort in minimizing pollution, because you would earn money. In legislation, you don't earn any money. It's just, punishment. So this is why evolution that is driven by entrepreneurship and business, when you see obvious, earnings, compared to goals that are driven just by legislation, the evolution is like this. Not much is going to happen here. And it's going to take a while before people's decision-making or, being a best citizen will actually make an effort here. So in order to drive those kind of possibilities, make money out of pollution, then you need to have digital marketplaces for insurance companies, for service entrepreneurs, for healthcare companies, together with automakers. And then suddenly you will see astonishing stuff. So data management is the shit. Get your services together and really understand what as a service means, because that's going to be your new capability. So get the creativity done. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Sofia. I felt like this was like an extended TED Talk. It was just brilliant to listen to you.
Thank you.
And I'm also impressed by your openness, because many of the people you work with are the car industry, but still you sort of open the lid to what's really happening in the car industry. Now let's move over.
Well, actually, I happen to be both from Iran and middle age and not afraid. So you're going to be, daring.
Just go for it. So some of these questions I believe that we might already have touched upon, but we see that, for instance, there's several questions about that a lot of us, at least some of us in here, actually like driving a car. We do it because it's fun to drive, not as a transport purpose. We have cars because it's a status symbol. So all that you've been saying, how does that relate to these kind of feelings about vehicles?
Well, actually go to racing wreck. And if driving a car is entertainment, you need to do it in safe places. You can't mix, my God, how fun is commuting to work, getting stuck in traffic? It's not that fun. So if you want to, be entertained by your car, you probably are going to do that in, a nice countryside, because those places are not where we have the most problems. So you're going to take your car into the city center, park it, and then go with the pods inside the city. So it's not yes and no. We're going to have multiple different mobility services, and that is where we need to, think again. Don't be so selfish.
Somebody raised the question about safety concerns. I think many of us saw, I think it was a year ago when a Jeep was hijacked, and I would be worried about that call. Your car is not going to turn at the next corner unless you quickly pay 10,000 euros or something like that. How do you see the connectivity and safety?
Actually, during last year, it was 7 million cybersecurity attack all over the world. But you know what? These are still the corner cases, because the possibility or the risk of, being unsafe in the car is, getting minimized by the artificial intelligence and the way we are getting better in cybersecurity. So that is the least to be worried about.
So that's the least to be worried about. How about this one? Big Brother is watching what happens with all the data generated.
I hate the idea as well. Read the last number of the magazine Filter, and you read about the centralized internet, where actually no one can offer products that are free and you are the product, but everyone could interact with providing you a token for the data you're sharing. And that's really appealing to me, because I don't like this. I don't like the idea that the business models are hidden. and I don't know, who is wanting, know what from me, and what's the price. So that could actually be watched within the autonomous business. It could be.
And you're certainly doing a great job in exposing the business models of the different entities. So that's great to hear and great to start thinking about. Somebody asked here, with the 5G, when it enters our lives, would the cars themselves be the mobile internet providers?
Actually, today are a lot of different discussion, just a very short insight. The autonomous car don't need to have connectivity because all the intelligence is already in the car. But as soon as the car needs to work with everything else around it, with other cars, or understanding in 5 kilometers is ice on the road and there is a traffic jam, then of course you need to have some kind of communication. But there is a discussion regarding DSRC, short-range communication, Wi-Fi hotspot, and several different sort of communication connectivity perspective. But as 5G pods, that's quite expensive. And the business model is really not there yet.
Speaking of expensive, this is also linked to expensive. Will this increase the divide between the global rich and poor who will not have access to this technology?
This is what I'm really, aching about, because many of the services right now on the digital automotive business are provided to the premium segment. And that really doesn't work for digital services, because digital services needs to be mass used. The more they are used, the better they get, and the more insight you get. And right now, most of those services are just on the premium side. But car as a service will be down to the sort of a middle class car brands.
But it will still be linked to new cars only. I used to live in Kenya, and you're also from a different country where second-hand cars are the norm.
You need to forget about it, because also second-hand cars will be in that loop, in the car sharing. So don't buy a car, take it as a service, but it's not really there yet. It's a bit hacking the system, but within the next 5 years, it's going to be affordable.
Last and potentially most critical question to you. Are you helping the car industry to survive when it's really time for new solutions?
Probably we are, but I mean, we won't be in the business if not car sharing and utilization of car as a sort of a tool wouldn't be there. So my hope and envision is that I'm going to make car sharing and car as a service in those perspective for the smart city a reality. I'm hoping to do a good job, because I'm not working for one car maker.
Sofia, we learned a lot. Are you staying throughout the day?
Most of the day.
Most of the day, because a few of these questions we didn't have time to go through. You know what Sofia looks like now. Please approach her with your questions. Sofia, here's a few trees in Africa for you. Here's some locally produced chocolate. And please give Sofia another warm hand.
Thanks for listening.